Hi, this is New Time on Silkway TV channel. We introduce you with the most visible news and important events that happened throughout this week in Kazakhstan and Central Asia. More details on politics, economy, social and cultural life with opinions from the most recognizable experts of Kazakhstan and world. I'm Daurian Sagulov and this is what you'll see today. President Tokayev participated in COP29 in Azerbaijan. What did world leaders discuss at the most important climate conference? The Islamic Development Bank will invest over $1 billion in Kazakhstan's water sector. The chairman of the Islamic Development Bank Group shared details of the largest deal with Kazakhstan. Wabtec intends to implement major green projects in Kazakhstan in the field of railway locomotive production. An exclusive interview with the company's senior vice president for CIS and European markets. Representatives from nearly 200 nations gathered at the annual UN Climate Summit in Baku, focused this year on defining a new climate finance target to replace the previous goal of $100 billion a year. The delegates once again negotiated international agreements and commitments to combat the climate crisis and ways to offer more support to the developing countries. Scientists warned progress was not on track and inaction could cause irreversible damage to our planet. Speaking at COP29, a report from the independent high-level expert group on climate finance said target annual figure would need to rise to $1.3 trillion a year by 2035 to move to greener energy and protect against extreme weather. But some were questioning if the re-election of Donald Trump, a climate change skeptic, would change plans or even derail agreements. So, will politics play a role at this gathering and how will developing nations level the playing field? More details in the report by Baljan Samigulina.
Baku, Azerbaijan, the world's first oil town, hosted the UN's annual conference on tackling climate change. The world gathering started amid warnings that 2024 will be the hottest year on record. For many countries, the climate crisis is no longer a distant threat. Extreme weather patterns are becoming more common with devastating consequences. Scientists and officials warn the numbers are undeniable.
Whether you see them or not, people are suffering in the shadows. They are dying in the dark, and they need more than compassion, more than prayers and paperwork, and they're crying out for leadership and action.
Atop the agenda, establishing a fund to support developing nations to transition away from fossil fuels and to deal with the effects of climate change. Poorer nations are getting about $100 billion a year in aid from richer countries. The need, according to the UN and developing countries, is around 10 times higher than that. The world's richer countries are responsible for the majority of global emissions. The harshest impacts are felt by some of the poorest. The climate experts like Barbara Rosen-Jacobsen from Mercy Corps, a non-profit organization which helped over 30 million people last year, to those who suffer from impacts of climate change and conflicts, hope that rich countries to do more to compensate poorer nations for the suffering caused by climate change.
It's a matter of climate justice in a way. It's about those who are who played the biggest role in creating the climate crisis, providing support to those who have done least to cause the climate crisis but are suffering the impacts from it. So this is a huge topic on the agenda. It is going to be the topic of negotiations for throughout the full 2 weeks here, and we're almost at the midpoint now.
But the financing goal is competing for attention with economic concerns, war in the Middle East, and the election of Donald Trump, a climate change denier, for a second term as President of the United States, the world's biggest economy.
I want to thank the American people for the extraordinary honor of being elected your 47th president and your 45th president.
In this, experts say there is a long shadow cast that the president-elect of the largest historical emitter is likely to withdraw from the Paris Agreement, as he did in his first term, calling climate change a hoax. However, US climate envoy said that Donald Trump's election victory last week was disappointing to climate advocates, but that work to combat global warming would continue in the United States.
While the United States federal government under Donald Trump may put climate action on the back burner, the work to contain climate change is going to continue in the United States with commitment and passion and belief.
Climate catastrophes have particularly impacted countries in the global south. Now India and many African countries are asking richer nations to donate $1 trillion. The fund will help them deal with the damage caused and help build more climate resilience infrastructure. Historically industrialized countries like the US, European countries and China have emitted the highest level of carbon dioxide. The exact amount of compensation and who would pay it would be heavily discussed at the conference. A previous goal of $100 billion per year, which expires next year, was met 2 years late in 2022, although much of it was the form of loans rather than grants, something recipient countries say needs to change. The success of the summit, which will continue up to November 22, is likely to be judged on whether nations can agree a new target for how much richer nations, developing leaders, and the private sector must provide each year to developing countries to finance climate action. Baljan Samigulina, New Time.
The Islamic Development Bank will invest over $1 billion in the water projects in Kazakhstan. The agreement was signed at the COP29 World Climate Summit in Baku with the participation of Kassym-Jomart Tokayev. The president of Kazakhstan arrived in Azerbaijan's capital on a working visit and was among the first to speak at COP29. He stated that to combat climate change, countries need to unite their efforts and use advanced technologies. He also underscored the critical importance of managing water and land resources. President Kassym-Jomart Tokayev arrived in Baku on a working visit on the very first day of the COP29. He was welcomed by the summit host, President Ilham Aliyev of Azerbaijan and UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres. Later, at the plenary session, as a close partner and neighbor, Kassym-Jomart Tokayev was also among the first to speak. In his address, he noted that our country is committed to the global climate agenda and is moving toward carbon neutrality.
Despite accounting for only 1% of global emissions, Central Asia faces multiple climate risks. To enhance our climate response, we must now leverage technologies such as artificial intelligence, satellite monitoring, and other digital tools for early warning and better water and land management.
Climate change has a tremendous impact on food security, which is why special attention is being given to agriculture. To feed the growing population in the 21st century, we need to produce more food with fewer emissions while preserving soil quality. Therefore, President Tokayev noted that carbon farming can be introduced in agriculture. Kazakhstan, with 200 million hectares of agricultural land, will be an excellent platform for such agricultural methods. In this way, we can reduce emissions and improve soil quality, stressed the president. He invited interested parties to explore Kazakhstan's potential in this sector.
Our country exports 43% of the world uranium supply and therefore plays a critical role in low-carbon nuclear power generation. In October, a nationwide referendum supported construction of the nuclear power plant in Kazakhstan. We are committed to ensuring the project's safety and efficiency through partnerships with global technology leaders in this area.
Highlighting the critical global issue of water resources, President Tokayev emphasized that climate change is disrupting the planet's water cycle. He pointed out that water-related events comprise over 80% of all natural disasters, referencing the unprecedented floods that affected Kazakhstan in the spring. Kazakh president stressed the necessity for a comprehensive disaster risk management system to effectively respond to and recover from future natural calamities.
This December, we are partnering with France to host the One Water Summit to drive the momentum on water agenda. This summit will address issues in global water governance. The Caspian Sea is in danger. Saving the biggest lake in the world is a matter of common concern that requires long-term international cooperation. We support the initiative of President Aliyev to establish a group of experts from the Caspian states.
Climate initiatives got underway on the very first day of COP29. Kazakhstan and the Islamic Development Bank signed an agreement to fund $1.15 billion water resource development project. This is the largest project in terms of financing in the bank's 51-year history. During his meeting with the chairman of the Islamic Development Bank Group, Mohammad Suleiman Al-Jasser, Kassym-Jomart Tokayev expressed gratitude to the bank's leadership for their support, which plays an important role in Kazakhstan's economic development.
This will allow us to build over 3,500 new irrigation canals in the next 3 years, covering 9 regions of Kazakhstan. We will also construct and reconstruct 9 new reservoirs. As a result, we will be able to bring 330,000 hectares of land into agricultural use. That is, these lands will be utilized by our agro-industrial complex.
At the climate summit, President Kassym-Jomart Tokayev of Kazakhstan held several meetings with world leaders like Moldova's newly elected President Maya Sandu, the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, and leaders of Turkey, the UAE, Mongolia, Uzbekistan, Tajikistan, Finland, and several other countries, including the President of North Macedonia, Gordana Silyanovska-Davkova. She told us that the meeting was friendly and productive, highlighting the importance of close cooperation.
Kazakhstan is pioneering in many, especially economic projects. And indeed, I invited the president to visit Skopje.
Oh, that was
yes,
great news.
And also he invited me. Yes, we are a small country, but with many opportunities. We could cooperate in infrastructure, in energy projects, in tourism.
Kazakhstan is an active participant in climate initiatives, including projects to achieve carbon neutrality by 2060. Meetings like these, whether in large conference halls or in small side discussions, serve as another reminder that global environmental problems cannot be solved alone. Dauren Isagulov, Ainur Mangali, New Time. In a move toward regional cooperation on clean energy, Kazakhstan, Azerbaijan and Uzbekistan have signed a strategic agreement to integrate their energy systems. The deal, forged on the sidelines of the COP29 conference, is focused on joint efforts to produce and transmit green energy across the 3 countries. President Kassym-Jomart Tokayev noted that this partnership would mark a new page in the history of the shared commitment to sustainable development.
The document opens up new opportunities for integrating our country's energy systems, as well as for creating reliable supply corridors for environmentally friendly energy to European and other markets. Kazakhstan plays a crucial role here as a large transit territory. The practical outcomes for this agreement will contribute to the development of the Middle Corridor as a green bridge, connecting our economies.
According to President Tokayev, the cooperation will enhance the exchange of the experience and advanced technologies and contribute to strengthening the energy security of the countries. In turn, President of Azerbaijan, Ilham Aliyev, emphasized that the agreement would bring the strategic partnership between the 3 countries to a new level. The President of Uzbekistan, Shavkat Mirziyoyev, noted that it would epitomize a joint contribution to the future.
The regions of Central Asia and the Caucasus act in synchrony on many issues, including the development of green energy. We are aware of the ambitious plans and the achievements already made in the creation of renewable energy sources in Kazakhstan and Uzbekistan.
I would like to particularly emphasize the environmental significance of this project. The energy that will be transmitted, wind and solar energy, will help mitigate the impact on the climate. In this way, we support joint efforts to protect the climate under the Paris Agreement and achieve the Sustainable Development Goals.
We want to be a part of the economic development of Kazakhstan, said President of the Islamic Development Bank, Dr. Mohammed Al-Jasser, in an exclusive interview to Silkway, commenting the deal bank has secured with Kazakhstan's government during COP29 conference in Baku. The project will enable a large modernization of water infrastructure in the country. President Al-Jasser endorsed Kazakhstan's efforts in implementing important infrastructure projects, adding that the bank will be interested in investing into its economy in the future.
Kazakhstan is a large country, is a very important member of the family of the Islamic Development Bank, and we want to be part of the economic development of Kazakhstan. This project, you are correct, is the largest financing we have made at the Islamic Development Bank. Why? Well, because one, we see that this is very pivotal for the economic development of Kazakhstan. Climate resilience, agricultural development, water conservation, all of these are very important for Kazakhstan. We're going to rehabilitate more than 4,800 kilometers of irrigation canals.
Are you aware of the timelines of the projects, or the timeline will be negotiated further with the Kazakh partners?
We expect soon to start dispersing, and it will take, because it's a huge project, and this is a huge country also, it will take about 7 years for completion. But that is a good timing. We don't think that's too long or too short.
More details from the COP29 agenda and the President Tokayev's participation you can find tomorrow in the Reporter with President program on Silkway. UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres called on G20 countries to take the lead in financing climate action at COP29 and to address global warming without delay. He highlighted 3 key priorities for all nations: cutting greenhouse gas emissions, shielding humanity from the effects of the climate crisis, and securing sufficient funding. While there seems to be consensus on the first 2 priorities, the question of who should pay and how much remains a debated issue. More on this in the following report. Pay up or humanity will pay the price, said Antonio Guterres as warned for the world leaders at COP29 climate summit. UN Secretary-General called for urgent measures to reduce emissions, protect people from escalating impacts of climate change and dismantle barriers to climate financing, emphasizing the need for action following a year marked by devastating climate disasters in 2024.
The sound you hear is the ticking clock. We are in the final countdown to limit global temperature rise to 1.5 degrees Celsius. And time is not on our side.
The UN predicts that 2024 could be the hottest year on record. Recent natural disasters like the deadly floods in Spain and Colombia show the impact of climate change. Antonio Guterres pointed out the unfairness of the situation. The rich cause the problem, the poor pay the highest price, referring to the high emissions from major economies. He stressed that global emissions need to drop by 9% every year to control rising temperatures.
In our global economy, supply chain shocks raise costs everywhere. Decimated harvests push up food prices everywhere. Destroyed homes increase insurance premiums everywhere. And this is a story of avoidable injustice. The rich cause the problem, the poor pay the highest price.
Guterres reminded that at the previous COP28 summit, countries agreed to phase out fossil fuels and shift to renewable energy, emphasizing that it's time to deliver on those promises. Developed nations must double adaptation funding to at least $40 billion by 2025. However, the main challenge lies in financing renewables, which varies widely between countries. For example, Colombia's Environment Minister, Susana Mohamed, highlighted the need for the global financial system to address the disparity between developed and developing nations. Colombia remains heavily reliant on fossil fuel exports. She noted that countries with access to cheaper financing can transition to renewable energy more easily than nations like Colombia, which face higher interest rates on loans.
Last year we said we're going to triple renewables. Who's going to triple renewables? Colombia with access to capital at 10%, or the developed countries to access with capital at 1 to 3%. So that's a disparity.
The COP29 conference is notably missing key world leaders, whose economies are among the largest contributors to carbon emissions. US President Joe Biden, China's Xi Jinping, and France's Emmanuel Macron have chosen not to attend the summit. Joining them are other influential figures like European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen and leaders of Germany and India. But still, concluding his address, the Secretary-General expressed confidence that our collective efforts will not only restrain climate change, but also make the transition to a sustainable future fair for all. Daurin Isagulov, New Time. Kazakhstan has the potential to become the exemplar state in terms of balancing its energy supply, said Evgan Nifty, the CEO of the Caspian Policy Center in Washington, in an interview for New Time. He stressed that Kazakhstan is now navigating the balance between its role as a hydrocarbon producer and the global shift toward renewable energy. Mr. Nifty advocates for an approach to energy transition where Kazakhstan continues to supply traditional energy resources using cleaner methods and technologies, invests in renewables. More details you can find in the following interview. So, Mr. Nifty, thank you very much that you agreed to do this interview. It's a pleasure to talk to you. So, let me start with a common question. You're director of the Caspian Policy Center. So from your point of view, what major events happened in the Caspian region and over the past year, and how might they impact our region?
I would highlight a few developments that are very important. I would first say that rising tensions globally among the big powers, we observe it, and that's important, and it's having implications for Central Asia, because Central Asia is neighboring a major powers, including China, Russia, and in the south, India. And in that perspective, I see that it's affecting Central Asia, but it's also this difficult situation creating opportunities for Central Asia. I would like to obviously highlight one major development which is very important, and actually I'm happy to see Kazakhstan taking lead in that perspective, which is the inter-regional relations, which is developing the connectivity and cooperation among Central Asians. I want to refer President Tokayev's one word which is very important, I think, in that regard. He's mentioned that successful Central Asia is successful Kazakhstan. In that regard, this new dynamics in the global politics that is creating new opportunities for our region, because I say in that regard, because I see this region as a very important region for myself as well, where I see important avenues of development emerging for this region in terms of energy, in terms of supply chains, in terms of the middle corridor that we have been discussing. And also I would like to highlight the importance of the critical minerals for the energy transition globally. So I would say that the issues that we have not been talking about this region is now becoming more important in that regard. We wouldn't speak much about cooperation in this region maybe 5-6 years ago. We couldn't imagine certain things that happened in this region that we are now talking right now at this stage. The region's importance for Europe, for US, for neighboring countries is increasing, and in that regard I think what is important, how this region is capitalizing on that opportunity, where they work together to maximize their benefits in that regard, but also taking an important role in shaping global issues. I'm sure Kazakhstan is looking into expanding its opportunity to develop the transit and trade capacity of the region, and Kazakhstan have played an important role in the northern corridor trade, but it's also looking into Caspian and trying to develop connectivity through the Caucasus to Europe, Mediterranean, and accessing the other markets globally. I want to refer to Kazakhstan's foreign policy in terms of multi-vector foreign policy, but in that regard, but also Kazakhstan should be looking into multi-vector access to the global markets in terms of its energy access, but also dealing with landlocked situation where it needs access to global markets. At the same time, looking into the options of interregional connectivity is important, and I think in that regard I've seen European Union, for example, allocating about $10 billion to invest in Central Asian interregional connectivity, which obviously will translate into strengthening the regional connectivity across the Caspian as well.
We know that all the countries, all the states of Caspian region have different political, economical systems. So my question is, how can Kazakhstan help create cooperation models that works for all Caspian states? How do you think?
I think I would say that important developments have been happening between Azerbaijan and Kazakhstan in that regard, developing the Caspian Bridge and also trying to increase the connectivity with the Trans-Caspian. But also Kazakhstan's role in terms of mediation of the problems in the region is important. Kazakhstan previously hosted peace talks for Syria, we remember that, Astana process, but also Kazakhstan played an important role in hosting Azerbaijani Armenian foreign ministers in Almaty a few months ago. In that regard, Kazakhstan has a model to present, and that can be utilized for problems that are facing in the region that can become important tool to overcome, again, even resolving some of the bottlenecks and opportunities to reach global markets.
And if you don't mind, one last question. As we know, Caspian region moves towards greener future, greener energy. So my question is, what should Kazakhstan do to follow this global sustainability agenda, but at the same time staying as a major energy exporter?
So Kazakhstan is, we all know, is a major hydrocarbon producer. And we are facing dilemma globally, actually, where in one sense we want to build a new world, but also that new world cannot survive without the old world that we have, which is the traditional energy resources. In that regard, we need to have a balanced approach. And globally, we see that this energy security is seen as a more part of the national security of the countries. But I think Kazakhstan has immense potential to present in terms of balanced approach to the energy transition. I will give you an example. For example, in Africa, we have about 600 million people still doesn't have proper access to electricity. And whereas they're looking to produce enough energy for their population. And in different parts of the world, we are facing different challenges of the common problem that we are facing. So in that regard, I think Kazakhstan has a potential to become an exemplary state in terms of balancing its energy supply, which is well diversified. And at the same time, it is investing in the renewables. And at the same time, it's investing in the new technologies. But at the same time, even producing the traditional source of energy with the new methods, new technologies, while making sure that it is compliant with international standards, but also continue providing its own energy security.
And now, continuing with international agenda, Shigeru Ishiba has been officially re-elected as Japan's Prime Minister. On November 11, the House of Representatives elected the leader of the ruling Liberal Democratic Party to the position. For the first time in 30 years, the vote went to second round, as none of the candidates secured the necessary number of votes in the first stage. Formerly serving as Minister of Agriculture and Minister of Defense, Ishiba is best known for his idea of creating an Asian version of NATO. He advocates abandoning civilian nuclear energy and supports the deployments of US nuclear weapons in the Asia-Pacific region. Last week, Ishiba managed to have a phone conversation with US President-elect Donald Trump. According to the Associated Press, Trump may begin pressuring Japan to increase military spendings, which he deems insufficient.
I had a phone call last week with Mr. Trump, the next president of the United States, and extended my congratulations to him. In order to maintain the currently very good Japan-US relationship and bring it to a higher level, I hope we can seize the opportunity to hold a direct meeting as soon as possible.
The newly elected US President Donald Trump has already made his first key appointments. He is set to begin his second term with the historic decisions. For the first time in US history, a woman will lead the White House staff, a 67-year-old Susie Wiles. Wiles was a key figure in Trump's election campaign and has been working with the Republicans for over 40 years. Trump also announced that he would not continue working with Mike Pompeo, his former Secretary of State, and has nominated Senator Marco Rubio for the position. In addition, Trump has appointed entrepreneur Elon Musk and businessman Vivek Ramaswamy to lead a new Department of Government Efficiency. According to Trump, they will focus on dismantling government bureaucracy and cutting wasteful spending. For the Secretary of Defense, Trump has nominated Fox News television host and former military officer Pete Hegseth. And now back to the green agenda. As world leaders gather for COP29, green technologies and sustainability are at the forefront of global discussions. In Kazakhstan, Waptec Corporation is making significant strides in this direction with a new partnership aimed at revolutionizing the rail industry. New Time reporter Baljan Samigulina spoke with Gohan Beyhan, Senior Vice President for Russia, CIS, Europe, the Middle East and Africa at Waptec, about the company's new green technology initiatives, including the development of hydrogen, LNG and battery-powered locomotives. Mr. Beyhan also shared details about the new agreement with Kazakhstan Railways for the Kinetics projects, a smart infrastructure system designed to improve the efficiency, safety and reliability of rail networks. As Waptec expands its innovative technologies, the company is settling the stage for a cleaner, smarter future in transportation across Kazakhstan and the wider region. Watch more details in the fragment of the interview.
Mr. Bayhan, thank you very much for joining us. It's a great pleasure to have you. And we've seen an announcement that Waptec has launched a new technology and engineering center in collaboration with K2Z in Kazakhstan. What programs are estimated to be done within this project, and what is in general expected from this collaboration?
Absolutely. So, as I mentioned in several of the discussions this week with the government, we are shifting technologies in the rail industry. The railroads moving towards the sustainability and green technologies. So for the last 27 years we've been in Kazakhstan, we have been building locomotives in the LKZ plant. But over the next 10 years, we plan to shift that technology to new alternative fuels and green technologies such as LNG, hydrogen, and battery. So as we do that, we need the engineering power here in Kazakhstan to be able to design those products for the CIS region, and as well as we will utilize the same team for our global projects all around the world. So we are very proud to have that engineering team here and excited for the future.
Last year it was announced that there will be start of electric battery locomotive to be produced by Waptec in the US, and then also provided here in Kazakhstan by 2026. Yes. How close are we to this?
So we are going through the design stage with our customer Kazakhstan Railways. Again, we're not only looking at the battery, we're also looking at other alternatives such as LNG and hydrogen as those become more available in Kazakhstan. But definitely we are working on the technical specs and the specifications for the locomotive with Kazakhstan Railways.
So by 2026?
We're planning, yes. We're still hoping.
And what's about your activity in Kazakhstan? How many locomotives have you produced this year, and what's the trend?
Okay, so as I said, we've been present in Kazakhstan for 27 years. Over that period, we have produced over 1,000 locomotives, both modernization and new. Our plan is to continue that trend. On a normal basis, we produce about 50 to 75 locomotives in Kazakhstan.
Per year, right?
Per year. Per year. And some of those are also exports and to other customers other than Kazakhstan Railways. But that's our trend has been that amount.
Can you announce now a new project that can be initiated, next year or within this 5 years?
The exciting project is what we signed today. Again, locomotive projects we're going to continue doing because we've done it for 20 years. We're going to keep going with the new technology. The area that we're really focusing on with Kazakhstan Railways and Samuruk is the digitization of the railroad, the smart railroad and the smart railways. So before we had done Trip Optimizer, which is almost like an autopilot for a locomotive. Now today we signed a contract for Kinetics. Kinetics is a different project where we build infrastructure within the railways to monitor the assets, the locomotives and the wagons that are going down, to understand the health of the system, which improves both safety and the reliability and the efficiency of the railroad. So we are going to start focusing on the digital projects such as Kinetics, such as Trip Optimizer, positive train control, what we call PTC, which is a signaling system. So those are the new projects that we're launching with the railroads right now.
May I ask about the details of this contract? How much does it cost? I mean, what's the budget of this
The initial contract that we signed today was for $10.4 million. But we actually, the first kinetic system, we gifted to the railroad because we wanted them to try out the system and understand the benefits to their railroad and how it will help them with the smart railways. And once that's successful, then we'll obviously extend it to the rest of the railways.
Yeah, and so Waptec also is establishing a service hub at the Astana diesel service, right? Plans for the CIS in general, not even Central Asia. So what potential do you think this?
So I mean, first of all, we gotta all realize Astana diesel services is the only facility outside of North America that overhauls a GEO engine. There is no other facility in the world, so that we're very proud of that. So it does do the reconstruction of an engine, not only for, like you said, Kazakhstan, but for the region. But what we have done is beyond the engine, we have looked at each component of the locomotive, and in the years go by, we continue to add more and more capabilities to the facility.
what that gives us is it saves us time, obviously, and cost, and provides jobs and capability in country.
Thank you very much,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Bayhan. Thank you for joining us.
Today marks the 31st anniversary of the introduction of tenge, the Kazakhstan's national currency. On this day in 1993, the tenge became the official means of exchange in the country. Since then, the national currency has undergone significant development. Our banknotes and coins have received more than 20 international awards for quality, design and technological innovation. Last year, Kazakhstan introduced the digital tenge, the third form of national currency. Digital tenge cards are now being issued in partnership with international payment systems. These cards are the first of their kind in the world, linked to the client's digital currency accounts. In addition, the National Bank of Kazakhstan has announced the launch of a new project, the Digital Investment Coin. These digital coins will be available for purchase and sale online at any time from anywhere in the world. To mark the occasion, the National Bank of Kazakhstan, together with the National Payment Corporation, has launched a pilot project for the implementation of interbank QR payments. This system is designed to enable fast and convenient transactions. The first transaction has been already completed. Full integration of financial institutions in Kazakhstan into the unified QR code system is planned for 2025. Almost $82 million in taxes were paid by participants of the Astana International Financial Center in the first 9 months of 2024, representing a $9 million increase compared to the entire previous year. Since its inception, the AIFC participants have contributed over $254 million to the state budget. In terms of investment, the center has attracted about $12 billion to Kazakhstan. Currently, over 3,300 companies from 80 countries are registered at the financial center, with nearly half of them being foreign-owned, primarily from Europe, Asia and the Middle East.
AIFC is a special jurisdiction created with favorable conditions for business development. This includes not only tax preferences, which are available solely for financial companies, but also the legal component of the regulatory framework based on the principles of English law. Additionally, companies choose our jurisdiction due to our independent judicial system. We have our own independent court, the AIFC Court Arbitration Center, and the ability to create structured products that, for example, cannot be created in the jurisdiction of Kazakhstan.
That's it for today. All the main news about Kazakhstan and Central Asia you can find here. More special projects about our country you can also watch on Silkway TV channel. So stay tuned and see you next week.